Hello, Noel Braun. Welcome to Paso del Camino, a project within the Camino de Santiago to the Camino de Santiago. And it's such a blessing and such a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to talk to you. Uh, for those who don't know, Noel is a pilgrim from Australia, and it's also a Camino author, and it's really a pleasure for me to be able to talk to you. Thank you so much, Noel.
And thank you for inviting me to talk to you. Mm.
So, Noel, let's start from the beginning, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so, how did you find about Camino and why you decided to walk the Camino Santiago?
Well, I knew about Camino from uh, a one of my fellow parishioners at the church that I was going to at that time. Walked the Camino Frances, with his daughter.
Yeah.
That was about the year 2000. I That's when I first heard about the Camino and became interested, although I really had no intention at that time to walk. And it wasn't until that I was in France. I was in France in 2006 at Chambéry in the French Alps. When I used to, each Sunday at the cathedral, I would go to mass, and every now and then I saw a group with their shells in their backpacks being blessed. They were receiving the pilgrim blessing on their way to Santiago, and I thought at that time, that's a good idea. But it really wasn't until 2010 that I took the first step. I was interested in the Camino for a start because back in 2004, my wife had died of suicide, and I was a bit lost. In fact, I was definitely lost for a while. And I saw the Camino as a means of finding some sort of structure back in my life. So that's in a way while I went to France, but I was traveling around a bit. But in 2010, I started at Le Puy on the steps of the Cathedral of Le Puy-en-Velay in eastern France, and walked in that year, 2010, through to Jean-Pierre-de-Port on the French side of the Pyrenees, and stopped there. But I went back home to Australia, but I had to continue. So 9 months later, I was back in Jean-Pierre-de-Port, and then walked through the Pyrenees and through Spain to Santiago, and then on to Finisterre. That was 2011. Now, once I got home, I soon realized that one Camino was not enough. Not enough. So I've been back 4 times since.
Let me just one
so
thing.
6 times in all.
Yeah, I have 5. And counting.
Okay.
Counting. Of
Same
course.
route or a different route?
No, different routes.
Different route. Good.
From 2016, the first year, 2018, 3 times the Portuguese Camino, from Braga, my hometown. Then in 2019, the Primitivo. And last year, fortunately, I was able to walk the winter Camino, the Camino de Invierno.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think I did in 2013. I followed the Camino d'Al. Started at Montpellier in France and walked through to Toulouse, then crossed the Pyrenees at the Col de Saint-Paul, and then down to Jaca, and
Yeah,
across to Puente la Reina on the Camino Frances, and stopped there because that's where I was walking in 2011. And then in 2015, I followed the Camino Portuguese started at Lisbon and walked through. I think the route I detoured into Fatima.
yeah,
I was planning to stop there only one night, but I finished up staying 4 days, and then continued on through, I think it was Coimbra,
yeah.
yeah, and Porto, and then through on to Santiago, and then on to finished there. So I visited Santiago twice. That was 2015, 2017. I started from Veselay, up near Paris in France, and walked through to Jean-Pierre-de-Port. Although I took a detour. And went to Rocamadour, which is in itself a shrine and a point of pilgrimage. Missed a gap in that Voie de Veselay, so that in 2019, at that time I was 86, 2019, I went back and completed that section that I'd missed 2 years before, and then I came across to Geneva and walked from Geneva through to to Le Puy, so that I finished where I started. I started on the steps of that cathedral in 2010, and I finished there on the steps of that same cathedral in 2019. Now, I may have gone back this year, but of course, travel has been restricted. But I would like, if I could, to go back before I turn 90. In fact, in a way, to celebrate my turning 90. Although I don't have to, really. If I'm still fit and well, you can go any old time.
Yeah.
But we'll just see how we go, because I'm doing my best at this time to keep fit and healthy. I walk every day. I either walk every day or go to the local gymnasium. In my office, to keep fit so that my body will withstand it all. But I must admit, whereas back in 2010, I was walking, 25 to 30 kilometres a day, in 2019, I was happy to do 10 to 15 kilometres a day. So I took it much more slowly there. So
there's no problem with that, and I guess it's even more beautiful when you can do a Camino like that.
Yeah.
So
and all my Camino, all my walking is dedicated to the memory of my wife. And along the way, whenever I find an opportunity to light a candle in her memory, that's what I do. I don't know how many hundreds of candles that I've lit, across France and Spain and Portugal. So because she was walking with me all the way there.
That's just amazing. Did you two different questions? First, did you found on the Camino that structure that you needed to keep going? And okay, I'm Christian, I'm religious, I'm really devoted to Saint James and his
Yes,
teachings. And as a Christian, as a religious person, on the Camino, several times I felt the presence of something there, of God or of Saint James there beside of me. Uh, did you find? Did you feel the presence of God or Saint James on your Caminos?
yes, I certainly did. And I can recall vividly some moments when I did feel the presence. Can I talk about one particular instance?
Yeah, please.
This was in France. I started to walk early, and it was in the valley, and I walked before dawn, and as I walked up the hillside to the top, the countryside was emerging out of the darkness, and sort of by the time I reached the top, I stopped and paused, and there was it was still, not a sound, and I got up to the top to watch the sun rising, and just as the sun rose, the wind rose, and I immediately thought of a song we sing, "Breathe on me, breath of God." And I thought the presence was in that wind as it came by, and I was transfixed just for a little while, just absorbing the experience. But I've also been to what I call sacred places.
Yeah.
I may have ranged. I think of particular significance to me, I think, has been the little chapels, the little churches that you find in the middle of nowhere.
You and me both. You and me both. Before you continue, let me tell you a story. And because you said to me about Fatima. Okay.
Yes, Fatima, I felt the presence.
In Galicia, there are very, very places that they are devoted to Fatima. There are several chapels, several chapters or chapels that are dedicated to Our Lady of Fatima. In 2019, walking the Camino Primitivo, Asturias, on the middle of mountains, just mountains, high mountains. On the first stage, I was just walking by, beautiful sightseeings, beautiful sights, beautiful, everything was amazing. And on the first, I don't know, after first 11, 12 kilometers, I found, and I can show you this because it was just on that time I found this little chapel dedicated to Our Lady of Fatima on my
mhm,
every first day on that Camino without knowing anything about it. It was just amazing. And in that same place, feel like this inner peace, that same inner peace I just felt in one more place. And you know what place it
mm,
is?
mm.
In Santiago. In Santiago,
Yep. Yeah. Mhm, mm.
you can see here. Do you know it's very small chapter,
Ah,
and
yes.
it was very small in the middle of mountains in Asturias, nearby Oviedo, where the Camino Primitivo starts, and it's just
Yes.
outstanding, just amazing. And
Right.
I felt this feeling here that I just the other place where I felt the same. It's just looking out to that magnificent cathedral that is Santiago.
Mm.
In any way, in any more place in my life that I've been to, I felt this, and
Yes. Mm.
it was just the right moment, the right feeling in the right moment, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
So please, sorry for interrupting you.
That's no. Well, the little chapels that appealed to me were the ones that had been in ruins, and some faithful group had worked hard to raise money and to work physically to restore them, and so that they were just and yet there was usually a photo board telling the story of the restoration. And I thought uh, in those places, God was present in the dedication of those people who restored the chapel. And there are, and also I thought God or Jesus was present in, some of the people that I met. I often in the
Me too.
morning
Me too.
would say
Me
to
too.
myself, I wonder if I'll meet Jesus today. Um, and I think one particular instance where I felt I really did meet Jesus was when I was lost, hopelessly lost, because I'd followed the wrong path all afternoon, and by about 4 o'clock, I should have been at my destination, and the countryside was flat and bare and open, not even animals uh, in the fields, no one to talk to. So I came to this crossroads, and then I heard the pop, pop, pop of this engine. These small panel vans that the farmers were
Yeah.
in came by. Anyway, I hailed this, and also I'd run out of water by then because I'd expected to be where I should have been, and there seemed to be nowhere to get any water. No houses, no nothing, just in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, along came this little pedal van. It stopped. Young man, he would be a teenager. He stopped, and I asked him where the particular town was, and he said, "Oh, that's 10 kilometres to the east." Oh, um, and then he sort of drove off. And I thought the only consoling thought I had was that it was 4 o'clock. I still had 6 hours of of daylight to find the place. And he gave me a great maze of directions, which I got lost in, of course, because he's speaking French so rapidly. Anyhow, I started to walk, and then about 5 minutes later, I heard the pop pop, and here he was back. and he said to me, Monte, hop in. And as I hopped in, he gave me a bottle of this icy cold water. And he drove me to where I was going, and he dropped me outside the church, and he was chatting all the way about his family. He showed me his family farm and where his grandfather's farmed, and he just dropped me off and then drove off. And I thought, well, if ever I've encountered Jesus, that was he. Because he was one of the angels that you meet along the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're the angel.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you were the angel. You were able to help others. Many, many times these angels helped you. People that you saw once and will never see again.
Yeah.
But you're grateful for what they have helped you with. And it was sometimes just in conversations with people too.
Yeah. Do you know?
Because you sometimes talk late into the night.
Yeah.
Mind you, a glass or two of red wine helped.
Yeah, a lot.
But you talked, and people shared their stories with you, and some you found very inspiring and very encouraging there. So, and there are, there are many people that I've met that I'm still friends with, that I would, and hopefully will continue to be friends with people whom I've met on the Camino.
Yeah.
And to me, the Camino represents a power of good, in a world that's got a lot of evil in it. There's many, many forces that are trying to separate us all and pull us apart, whereas the Camino, I thought, is one great gift in that it brings people together. And on the Camino, you met so many people of different cultures and different nationalities that you would have never have met and you've never talked to. We would never be talking. We wouldn't be having this conversation, would we? If it weren't for the Camino. And also the Camino represents so many values like welcome, and hospitality,
Yeah.
and camaraderie, bringing us all together there. And I think these are so many of these are some of the values that keep on sort of drawing me back to it.
Do you know? I am volunteer at an albergue, and actually I have two stories regarding that. First, on the Camino Angels, it's a long story, but resuming, in 2019, walking the Primitivo, I was on the first days. I was really struggling. I was lost emotionally and struggling with something that happened on the first day. And on the fourth day, I met this mid-aged Spanish guy. We just had talked for the first time the day before, but it was just for 5 minutes, talking about things on the Camino. And on the fourth day was the worst day. I was really, really bad, and maybe thinking of dropping out and going back home.
Yes.
And this guy, he saw me and calls me. He calls me aside, and I explain what is going on, and he just says to me, "Don't give matter to things that doesn't matter." Do you know? And these words, they were the right words on the right moment, and that was my Camino Angel.
Yes.
In the right moment. Do you know?
Yeah. Yes.
And other story, and actually it was one of my best moments on the Camino, and
Mm,
that
mm,
will bring my next question. Um, like I said, I am volunteer at an albergue,
yes.
and being hospitalero volunteer, it's not that easy as many would may think about it. In May of that same year, in 2019, I was there being hospitalero at a public albergue, um, and we have like 42 bunk beds at that albergue.
Yes.
And in the second day of May of 2019, I received on that same albergue 58 pilgrims.
Mm,
As a pilgrim, I can't left no one outside or at like 8 p.m. going and do more 7 or 8 kilometers. I can't. As a pilgrim,
mm,
I can't. As more as a hospitaler, no. But that in a day like that, in the albergue where there's nothing nearby where I am volunteer at, there's just
yes.
there's just a restaurant on right on 50 meters from there, and then there's a supermarket like 2 kilometers away. There's a bar 1 kilometer on the other side. But that albergue, the only thing that is nearby is a restaurant, nothing more. So inside of the albergue where we have a small supermarket with some things if people can cook and can buy for the next days. So you can imagine what they are 58 pilgrims in a small place. Alberg isn't that big enough.
Yes.
Asking for everything, and you have to do the check-in. You have to do more stuff. So it was a very busy day. And for me, I am volunteer at Alberg. It's my way to trying to paying back to the Camino what the Camino
Sure.
and Saint James have given to me all these years. Um,
Mm,
but I like to be more on the Alberg where I can have 15, 20 pilgrims, and then I can I can left a bit of meat to each of them. Do you know? Uh,
mm,
and when you have 15 pilgrims, even is impossible. Um it's not impossible, but
yes.
we can just talk a few times with each of them. Um,
Yes.
so that is all. 2 months,
Mm,
3 months later, in August, this was in May, in August, and again, walking the Primitivo, that was really special community for me. On the last day before reaching Santiago, um, just outside of Santiago, 10 kilometers, I guess. Just nearby, like this stone wall with some shells on it. I don't know uh, if you know what I'm talking. Nearby the airport. Um, this was August, like the high season of the Camino. So there's lots of pilgrims passing by, and on like this going down on this uh, road on this Camino, rolling down on this road, there's on this dirt road. There's lots of pilgrims, like lines of pilgrims going down, and suddenly there's a pilgrim that is going. It's walking the Camino onto the other way, going back to San John, and he passed by me. And on
mm,
on that moment, it looked really serious to me. Like on,
mm,
and I just thought, what the hell? What is going on? Uh, I was with that in my thoughts. So we passed by. I keep like walking by 10 meters more. It was going up, but I look I look behind me, and it look the same, and he screams, Are you Guilherme? Are you William? Yes, I am.
Mhm.
How did you know me? How you know me? And he starts running and give me like this big hug. For you to understand, this pilgrim, this it was a Spanish guy. It was there 3 months ago on that
Mhm.
day on the Albury with me, being
Mhm.
hospitalero. Do you know? And when some things like this happen, what can you do? You just have to embrace it.
Yes, yes.
This
Mm.
it was one of my best moments on the Camino. So my next
Mm.
question is: imagine that we could turn back time and you can relive again your best moment on the Camino. Which moment you choose?
My best moment. Um, mm, yeah, there were many. Um, um, I think my best moment um, um, would have lay in meeting some of the people. You're talking about seeing it then. In 2000 and when was it? 2013. I met and walked with for some time a couple. Um, they he was English and she was Spanish, and I walked with them, and I was getting very tired. This was towards the end. I was getting very tired and feeling a bit discouraged, ready to give it away. And it was their gentle encouragement to keep them going. Um, he he described himself as atheist, but I felt he was more Christian
Yeah,
than many Catholics or Christians that I've met,
I can
just in
relate to that.
terms of
I
the
can
way
understand
of
that.
his caring. Yeah. And then um, I, when I went, I think in 2015, when I went to started at Lisbon,
Yeah.
by that time they had moved to Lisbon, and I finished up staying with them for 2 weeks
Oh,
there, and they were wonderfully hospitable.
yeah.
And then um, he left his job there, and they moved to a town called Alaritz in Orense, which is not far from Santiago.
No.
And I detoured and stayed with them uh, at Alaritz. So, and when I first met them, she was pregnant. Uh, then when I met them, the little one was a year old, and then when I met them in 2019, the little one was 5 years old, and it was just lovely to see them. And each year on her birthday, I've been sending her a little present, usually a little book with an Australian theme. And it's like having another grandchild. I've already got 8 grandchildren here in Australia, and this little girl, Maggie Rose, is and in the emails that I receive them, I'm getting regular updates on how brilliant their little girl is, because she's fluent in both Spanish and um, English. She can understand is it Galatian, is it?
Yeah,
It's
Galatian, yeah.
spoken around. She can't speak it, but she can understand it. And also she has a reasonable knowledge of French, because she knows some French people. So he's um, and that I would have to say is one of my precious moments.
Yeah.
It's not a moment in one moment of time, but
Yeah,
spread over,
that's
spread.
amazing. That's amazing. So
It's just spread over, and I think it's
now,
very often, and as I mentioned there before, that it's in the people you meet and in the relationships that you establish that you sense the presence that there was something there. I think also too, just being there are many special moments in that when you're walking through a forest and you come across, you feel that you're in creation and that you're part of it too. You're part of creation, and creation is part of you. There's sort of like an identification in the land. Our Indigenous people here in Australia have a special sort of connection with the land. It
yeah.
means everything to them. And I think it was while walking on the Camino and feeling this strong identification with the country I was walking with that I felt I was getting to get some glimpse, some understanding of the importance and the meaning of what they call country to our Indigenous people. And it's all such a wonderful learning experience. It opens up your eyes, and it also opens up what you might call the eyes of the heart,
Yeah.
what the stuff that you don't see with your eyes. But it's this this value that goes beyond it. And I think to some extent, one of the things that Camino helps you to do is to get in touch with that inner person, whatever you call it. You call it the heart, the inner person, the spirit, the soul, and that the real person, that goes just beyond the physical sort of body. And I think, okay, you might learn you learn things with the head, but they're not really significant until you sort of learn them with the heart, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So, and I think that's where the Camino has been of immense benefit, and it's opened up my eyes and the hearing to many things that I would not have had the opportunity to learn or to hear or to
So
see.
Noah,
Yeah.
now hard question, but with the easy answer. Okay. Um, so imagine that we all have to live the same day, all day, the same day, and
Yeah.
you are on the Camino, and you
Yeah.
just have to walk every day the same stage.
Mm-hmm.
Which stage you choose?
Which day would I do it?
Yeah.
I think, okay, the last day, the day that I arrived on the steps of the cathedral at Le Puy,
Yeah.
which was where I had started. And it was also symbolic of that not only have I returned physically back to where I had started my first Camino, but also I had come back to myself, in that I had and that's what the pilgrimage is. It's not only a physical journey; it's this journey of that inner person. And it's almost as if I'd come back to that inner person there by coming back to physically to the place where I'd started there. So, but I find that question hard to imagine.
Yeah.
Repeating the same thing. There's a film, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a film about I've forgotten the name of it.
So
one of the things about the Camino too, I'm a writer, and it's given me the opportunity. I've written 3 books now about the Camino, and I know that the positive experience that I've had and that I can talk about to people, I've given people the opportunity to read about. And I've been or 2 of them actually have now been translated into Spanish, so that opens up the audience a little more there. So I could show you the books if you wish there.
yeah. So Noel, like I said before, you are a Camino author. But before we talk about your books, what were the things that you lived on the Camino that exist on the Camino that inspired you to write about it?
Well, it was always the people I met, and it was also it's just the sheer beauty of some of the places that we passed through. Mind you, there were some ugly parts too. And what inspired me about the Camino to write about it?
That's amazing.
What really inspired me about it was that this was a route that had been walked for 1,000 years, and when I looked down, on a path, when I looked down, I could see the footprints, perhaps of the people who had walked that day or the day before. But then I thought, okay, well, underneath that, there are the footprints of the people who walked for the last 1,000 years. And feeling a bond with all of those people back 1,000 years, and I felt a real brotherhood with them. And then I thought, okay, I thought also everybody had left something of themselves in those footprints. And then I thought, okay, I'm leaving my footprints. I'm leaving a little bit of myself there in those footprints so that people who come after me will see that. So I saw myself as having a bond, not only with the people who were walking with me, but the people who had walked 1,000 years back up to, and to the people that will walk it in the future. It's a great brotherhood stretching across the centuries. That really impressed me.
Yeah. So.
And I just thought,
please,
of another little moment.
Yeah.
Another little inspiring moment, a little insignificant probably, but I saw a lot in it. 2007, 17. I just started walking from Veselay. I was out there on my first day, and I was out there, and before long there was this flock of sparrows came and settled just in front of me, twittering away. And then as I moved up, they'd fly over and they'd settle down there another 100 meters in front of me. And then I'd catch up with them and they would fly another 100 meters or so and settle down. This kept on going, continually going. And I thought, what's the meaning of these sparrows? They could be, for all we know, the spirits of the people who had gone before and were wishing me well, on the beginning of my journey, So I saw in them much more than a flock of birds. I read a lot more meaning into that, and it was these little moments like that that inspired me, and I thought I'd like to write about them and convey some of this to some of this, more than just the physical things, what you should bring with you and all that sort of stuff, but just something of this sort of spiritual life that evolves around the Camino. Does that make sense to you?
A lot, believe me.
Yeah.
And of course, here in Portugal, I don't have access to your books, but one of the things that really stick out in my head about your books, it's just the titles. The titles are precious, are unbelievable, are amazing. Please let me know more about your books. I guess it just keep walking, and the day I was made for walking.
Yeah, that's right. It's right.
The titles are just amazing.
Yeah, the day was made for walking. Is that one?
Yeah,
that's the first two trips, and then
yes.
I guess
I'll just
keep on walking there. And the one that came out last year, is keep pressing on, brother.
Amazing.
And you could say keep pressing on, sister, too.
Yeah.
But that one came out, and I feel through those books that the message, some of the spirit and messages of the Camino, I've been able to spread to others, people who read them, people who've walked Caminos and they want to relive some of their bit. There are also people who are thinking about the Camino. But then there's another audience who find inspiration, in my story, and that I didn't start walking until I was in my late 70s, and I've kept on going into my 80s, and now with the 90s coming up.
Yeah.
That's assuming, or God willing, as they say, God willing, that I'm still around. God's been very kind to me there with health-wise, which enables me to even think about it. So
they're just amazing.
Yeah. And also, my two daughters have been talking about coming with me.
Oh, that would be nice, don't?
It would be lovely if they did. But mind you, the conversation was over a glass of wine. So, what you talk about in a glass of wine doesn't always happen. But anyway, we'll see.
But I guess just for you writing your books, part of your passion about the Camino are passing through them, don't?
Yes,
Yeah,
I have a passion about I have a passion about writing, and also have a passion about the Camino.
yeah.
Uh, yeah.
So, Noel, we are almost finishing here,
Fair
uh,
enough.
but one last question.
Okay, not a hard
So
one.
it is, it is.
Right.
When you talk, when you write, when you think about the Camino, what your heart says,
Sorry, what do I?
what your heart says.
What my heart says?
Yeah,
Yes, my heart says. Um, I think it says in a way. Don't be afraid to do something that's a bit different. Don't be comfortable just staying in your comfort zone, but be ready to step out, even if it makes you vulnerable. And I think my heart tells me that this is something worthy and worthwhile. It's got the potential to elevate and lift up. This is something, and I'm thankful. I'm ever my heart's certainly expressing gratitude and thanks that I've got this passion and perhaps the skills to be able to do these things, to be able to write and to be able to sort of do long distance walking at the same time. I think that's what it's telling me.
that's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. So Noel, we are already finishing here. But
Okay.
one last word. Thank you so much. I am blessed because I was able to talk to you. Thank you so much
Well, thank you very
for your
much.
story.
Thank
It
you
was
very much.
amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Obrigado.